He's the hammer wielder, the stormbringer, the protector of gods and men. But the real Thor was far more brutal. Welcome to my channel, and today we're counting down the top 5 most brutal facts about Thor, the thunder god. 5. He once killed giants by the dozen in a single night. Of all the figures in Norse mythology, Thor is perhaps the most beloved. A god of thunder with a heart of gold, he defended the innocent and battled evil wherever he found it. But sometimes battling evil meant getting down and dirty. During one particularly eventful night, Thor went to a party hosted by King Hrym, who had gotten himself kidnapped by a bunch of giants. In disguise as one of the servants, Thor made quick work of the giants, killing 12 of them with his hammer and sending the rest fleeing. Number 4. His chariot was pulled by goats he ate and resurrected. To say Thor loved goats would be an understatement. In fact, he once ate 2 of his own goats only to resurrect them so that he could sacrifice them to a troll and pass as a human. But what if you were the goat? Well, then you'd probably be asking yourself why you were being sacrificed to a smelly rock. Well, that's what happened to 2 of Thor's goats, Tangrisnir and Tangjost, whose names translate to tooth grinder. They were immortal, but they got eaten anyway, or at least they looked that way. In actuality, Thor ate their corpses after making them into delicious goat stew. Don't ask us how he kept track. Nope. 3. He battled the Midgard Serpent in a fight that shook the earth. The Midgard Serpent was the child of Loki, a creature destined to grow so large that it would encircle the entire earth. And when it did, it would bring about the end of the world. So naturally, Thor felt it was his duty to kill the beast before it grew up. Unfortunately, as children go, the Midgard Serpent was strong enough to put up a pretty good fight against the god of thunder. As the two circled each other, the serpent spit venom that turned to stone anyone who touched it. But Thor was able to dodge its attacks while striking blows of his own. But neither fighter was able to land a fatal blow, and they soon agreed to call it a draw. Thor might have won the battle, but the serpent was still out there, growing stronger until it was big enough to take him on again. This time, though, things wouldn't end in a tie. 2. His strength alone could destroy mountains. Even without Mjolnir, Thor was one of the strongest beings in all of Norse mythology. In fact, during a friendly competition with the Utgard giant, he accidentally destroyed an entire mountain range simply by trying to lift it. The god of thunder was not only super strong, he was also super dense. We don't mean that figuratively either. According to Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda, Thor actually has a density of 7 times that of normal humans, which is why he could destroy mountains with his bare hands. That must have been quite a shock to the people of Utgard. They didn't know Thor was just an average Joe. Yeah, the whole god of thunder thing threw them off. We wonder if they asked for a refund. Number 1. He's destined to die in Ragnarok and still wins. Let's face it, no one wants to die. Even if you get to go out in a blaze of glory and save the world from certain doom, that's still technically dying. For some people, this fear of death can be debilitating. But not for Thor. In fact, Thor is one of the few people out there who willingly court death. And we do mean people because Thor isn't exactly thrilled about his role in the Norse apocalypse Ragnarok. You see, he knows that when the time comes, he'll have to battle and die at the hands of the Midgard Serpent. Despite knowing this, he doesn't hesitate when the time comes, proving that he's willing to sacrifice everything for the greater good. So what if he dies? Who cares? He gets to come back. Again, that's kind of the point of Norse mythology. After all, everyone dies and comes back. As a god of thunder, Thor was always eager to answer the call of those in need. From protecting the people of Asgard to defending the realm from harm, he was always ready to lend a hand or throw his hammer, literally. But it wasn't all mead and honey for the god of thunder. In fact, Thor had his fair share of enemies, both big and small. In today's video, we're going to explore the world of Norse mythology and uncover the truth behind 5 of Thor's greatest rivals. Starting off our countdown at number 5, we have Loki. Loki might have been one of the most complex figures in Norse mythology, but there's no denying that he was also one of Thor's greatest rivals. In many ways, Loki was like a brother to Thor, albeit a bit of a weird one. Despite this, Loki couldn't help but delight in tormenting Thor and often tricked him into embarrassing situations. Remember the time Thor got tied up by a group of giants and Loki showed up to mock him instead of helping him out? Yeah, classic Loki. But their rivalry wasn't all fun and games. In fact, it often bordered on deadly. Loki even slandered Thor's wife Sif just to get under his skin. When Thor threatened to kill him, Loki responded by calling him a coward. Talk about pushing it too far. Next up at number 4, we have the Utgard giants. While Loki might have been Thor's greatest enemy, the god of thunder also had a bone to pick with the Utgard giants. During one of his travels, Thor stumbled upon a group of giants who challenged him to a series of competitions. Now, Thor was always up for a challenge, but these giants were unlike any he had ever faced before. They were incredibly strong and skilled, and they pushed Thor to his limits. But Thor wasn't the only one who came out of this encounter with a black eye. In fact, he was actually tricked into making a fool of himself. At the end of the day, Thor might have won the overall competition, but he certainly didn't come out unscathed. Now we're starting to enter dangerous territory as we approach the top 3, which means the competition is going to get fierce. So stay tuned as we continue. Coming in at number 3, we have the Jormungandr. If there was one creature that had it out for Thor, it was the Jormungandr, also known as the Midgard Serpent. This massive snake was destined to grow so large that it would encircle the entire earth and bring about the end of the world. Thor knew that the Jormungandr posed a serious threat to all of existence, and he was determined to destroy it before it grew up. However, when Thor confronted the serpent, he realized that it was stronger than he had anticipated. The two engaged in a fierce battle that shook the very foundations of the earth, but neither warrior was able to claim victory. Eventually, they agreed to call it a draw and part ways. But Thor knew that this was only a temporary truce. The Jormungandr would grow up eventually, and when it did, there would only be one winner. In at number 2, we have Hela. Hela was a powerful and fearsome goddess who ruled over the underworld. She wasn't just a typical villain, though. In fact, she was actually Thor's sister. Yes, you heard that right. Thor had a sister who ruled over the underworld. How messed up is that? Hela might have been Thor's sister, but she was also his greatest enemy. You see, Hela wasn't exactly thrilled about sharing her power with anyone, especially not her big brother, Thor. Whenever he entered her domain, he had to be careful, or he would risk incurring her wrath. But Hela wasn't just a jealous sister. She was also a force to be reckoned with. In fact, she was so powerful that she was able to hold her own against Thor in battle. So if you ever find yourself in the underworld, make sure to watch your back. You never know when Hela might strike. Finally, we've reached the top of our list, and coming in at number 1 is none other than Surtur. Surtur was the ruler of the fire giants, and he was one of the most feared creatures in all of Norse mythology. He was incredibly powerful, and he wasn't afraid to use his strength to get what he wanted. But Surtur wasn't just a mindless brute. He was actually a brilliant strategist who was always several steps ahead of his opponents. He was also incredibly cunning, and he used his intelligence to manipulate those around him. So if you ever found yourself facing off against Surtur, you better be prepared. He wasn't just a physical threat, he was a mental one too. But Thor was up for the challenge. He knew that Surtur was a formidable opponent, but he wasn't intimidated by the fire giant's power. In fact, Thor actually thrived on it. He enjoyed the challenge of facing off against such a powerful creature, and he wasn't afraid to use all of his strength to defeat Surtur. These two titans clashed in battle, shaking the very foundations of the cosmos. And in the end, it was Thor who came out on top. Hey, awesome viewers, we hope you enjoyed learning about Thor's greatest rivals. But now it's time for you to join the conversation. Which of Thor's enemies do you think was the most formidable? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic tales from the world of Norse mythology. Until next time, stay safe and keep an eye out for giants, snakes, and fire demons.